Hello, my name is Mark. I'm the youth pastor at St John's Harborne, and welcome to another midweek encouragement. Is anyone else exhausted, or is it just me? Whatever your experience right now, whether you are a key worker, whether you're trying to homeschool multiple children, if you're adjusting to working from home, coming to terms with furlough, living with family or friends or on your own, whatever your experience, life feels pretty exhausting right now. And is anyone else getting tired of screens? Or is that just me as well? Are you feeling distracted or disengaged on video calls? Feeling like you need to curl up in bed with a hot chocolate and have a nap once they're over? Maybe you're beginning to dread the upcoming video calls for work or with friends and family. Maybe you're even beginning to avoid online content. And you may not be sure why you're feeling like that. After all, at the moment, it's the main way of connecting with people and of feeling like we are spending time with those that we love. And my encouragement today, really, in a nutshell, is that you are not on your own. There are lots of us feeling like that. And people are using different language to describe this. Some people are talking about digital fatigue. Others talk about digital burnout or screen fatigue, and more. But here's the thing, there are really good reasons why you and I are maybe feeling like this. And there's some great articles. One I've read on the BBC, which is called "The Reason Zoom Drains Your Energy." And there's a brilliant one as well on the Mind and Soul Foundation website by a guy called Will Vanderhart called Telephone Empathy. I'm going to share some points from those and other places, but I'm going to briefly whiz through it. So do feel free to look up some of those at a later date and read a bit more into this. But as I say, there are good reasons why we are feeling the way that we're feeling. And I'm just going to share 5 of them with you now. The first one is focus. Over the years, research has found that when we look at and spend long periods of time looking at screens, TVs, our phones or fluorescent lighting, our eyes have to work a lot harder than they normally would. Quite literally, the muscles get tired. It's like we've run a marathon with our eyes. We are tired because of the amount that we are looking at screens. Not only that, but there is an associate professor at Instead who says that video calls require more focus from us, that our minds are working harder to process facial expressions, the tone and pitch of people's voices and their body language over video calls. And that's compounded when it's not just a one-on-one video call, but you're faced with 10, 15, 20 faces all on one screen looking at you as your mind tries to process all of that information. It's no wonder we're exhausted with the amount that our minds have to focus when we are doing video calls. Number 2 is context. The same associate professor from Instead says that our minds are together when our bodies feel we're not. The dissonance which causes people to have conflicting feelings is exhausting. You can't relax into the conversation naturally. In other words, we're used to physically being in the same place as someone when we connect with them, when we feel a togetherness, and we're trying to process the fact that we feel together in our minds, but physically we're not. Physically we're separated. Another exhausting factor within that he talks about is the fact that most of our interactions come with a context. So for instance, when you are playing badminton, you are normally on a badminton court somewhere with people that play badminton. When you're having your work calls and conversations, unless you're used to working from home, you would be in your office setting or surrounding. When you're spending time with your family, you're used to it being around the dinner table, or your relaxation time being on a sofa in front of the TV. And for most of us, all of a sudden, all of those different contexts have been stripped away, and we're left having all of our interaction with all of those different people from 1 or 2 rooms in our houses. We're genuinely trying to work out that context in our mind because we have less of that going on. So focus, context. Number 3, distraction. We are distracted by an awareness when we're on video calls that we're in front of a camera. There's this heightened sense of being able to see ourselves on the screen the whole time, or at least being aware that we are in front of a camera, that other people are watching us. Marissa Shuffler, who's an associate professor at Clemson University, says that when you're on a video conference, you know everybody's looking at you. You're on stage. So there comes the social pressure and feeling like you need to perform. We're aware of that. We're distracted by that. And with more distractions, our conversations, our Zoom calls are more exhausting. Number 4, empathy. Will van der Hart, who I mentioned earlier, he says, and he uses kind of research to argue that when we have the option of using them, our eyes become our sensory default, that we overestimate the importance of our eyes and what we can see in determining what other people are thinking and feeling. And he suggests that in reality, research has shown that actually we are better at understanding what someone is feeling, of empathizing with them, from vocal cues alone. But vocal cues are harder over technology with the sound and disruptions and that kind of thing. And again, when we use our eyes as much as possible, if we have the option. He says the fact is that something about the medium of interactive screen calls interrupts the flow of empathy between us. People who are usually sensitive and intuitive suddenly seem abrasive and blunt. Again, the associate from Instead says silence creates a natural rhythm in a real-life conversation. But when it happens on a video call, we become anxious about the technology. How true is that? And other research from 2014 suggested that a delay on a phone or conferencing system of 1.2 seconds makes people perceive that the responder is less friendly or less focused. It is harder for us to empathise with people and to feel truly connected when we're using these video calls, and that's exhausting. Number 5, loss. The same guy from Instead states that the video call is our reminder of the people we have lost temporarily. It is the distress that every time you see someone online, such as your colleagues, that reminds you that we should really be in the workplace together. You know, whoever it is, wherever it is, whether that's church, friends, family, colleagues, video calls are a reminder that although we're connecting with them through that medium, we can't actually be with them physically. And so it's a reminder of our loss. And that's why they can feel sad and exhausting and hard places to be. Why do I say all of this? You might think that doesn't seem overly encouraging right now. But the reason that I tell you this is because I think having some reasoning behind why we're feeling like we're feeling means that we can know that it's okay to feel what we're feeling. What you're feeling at the moment, it makes sense. It's valid. It's okay to feel that way. But there are some practical things we can do about it as well. A bunch of suggestions from people are things like, firstly, being kind to yourself. Give yourself a break. It's okay to feel what you feel. Maybe try having a traditional phone call with some people. Just speaking and hearing people's voices rather than having the visual element as well. Some people say that setting up a call before it goes live, not just rushing into it, but settling down with a cup of coffee can help them. If possible, avoid having your own image on the screen during a video call. You could use a group mute approach where the only person who's unmuted is the person speaking, which means there's less background noise and you're able to focus on one voice at a time rather than having more information. Doodle while you listen, draw while you listen, so that you're not just looking at a screen the whole time. During the day, try not to overcrowd your Zoom diary with work and social and friendships all in one day. Sometimes that's not possible, but try to make sure that you have regular breaks, to get up and move about the house and make coffee and give yourself that break. Use your time and your exercise and your outside time wisely. Make the most of that time each day. And think about maybe not using all of your work and social time online. Are there things that you can do to be off the screen in your social time, like jigsaw puzzles or board games? Are there things that in work you could switch that you would normally do on a computer because you're having more and more Zoom calls? Maybe there's some preparation or planning that you would normally type up that you could write instead. Maybe it's that you would normally read a whole bunch of articles online and you could print them off or find them in a physical format or a book and read rather than just watching it online. I want to finish up today by just reading a small section from the book of 1 Kings, and it's chapter 19, verses 2 to 6. Jezebel sent this message to Elijah: "May the gods strike me and even kill me, if by this time tomorrow I have not killed you, just as you killed them." Elijah was afraid and fled for his life. He went to Beersheba, a town in Judah, and he left his servant there. Then he went on alone into the wilderness, travelling all day. He sat down under a solitary broom tree and prayed that he might die. "I've had enough, Lord," he said. "Take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors who have already died." Then he lay down and slept under the broom tree. But as he was sleeping, an angel touched him and told him, "Get up and eat." He looked around, and there beside his head was some bread baked on hot stones and a jar of water. So he ate and drank and lay down again. The angel of the Lord came again and touched him and said, "Get up and eat some more, or the journey ahead will be too much for you." So he got up and ate and drank, and the food gave him enough strength to travel 40 days and 40 nights to Mount Sinai, the mountain of God. And there he came to a cave where he spent the night. What I love about this passage is that Elijah has come to the end of himself. He is distraught, he is exhausted, and yet God meets him exactly where he is and provides his needs. When Elijah goes running into the desert, anxious and fearful and scared and having no idea what his future holds, God doesn't rebuke him. He doesn't say, "Why are you here in the wilderness and not doing the prophetic work I've set out for you?" Instead, God sends an angel to give him food and drink, and God lets him rest and sleep. Yes, later at Mount Sinai, God gives Elijah a new command. But at this moment in time, the angel says, "Get up and eat some more, or the journey ahead will be too much for you." Elijah doesn't know the journey ahead, but God does, and God provides for his needs. So I want to encourage you today, just as God met Elijah where he was, gave him the chance and the opportunity to rest, I want to say that to you today. Take a break, have a rest, and be kind to yourself.